The awakening of the alert. Emerges empire. In a quiet corner of the galaxy, where stars twinkled softly and distant planets spun in slow, graceful arcs, a sudden sound shattered the peace. Far away, on a lonely outpost, an ancient alert began to pulse. This was no ordinary signal. It was a call to arms, a warning that something momentous was about to happen. The outpost, named Nova Haven, had long been a silent watcher in space. Its screens displayed nothing but calm, steady data from far-off stars and drifting comets. However, on this day, the main console lit up with a bright red signal. The system beeped and buzzed, urging anyone within earshot to pay attention. The alert was clear. Something was coming, and it was time for action. Captain Marcus Reed, a seasoned officer with a calm demeanor, was on duty at Nova Haven. He had spent many long nights monitoring the space around his outpost, but he had never seen an alert like this before. His eyes widened as he read the simple, yet urgent, message flashing on his screen. The words were clear and direct. Human battleship strikes the sector. Although the language was plain, the meaning was deep. It was a promise of power, a signal that human might was stirring in the void of space. Captain Reed quickly called his team to the command center. Lieutenant Sarah Kahn, a skilled technician, and Sergeant David Lee, a brave and reliable soldier, joined him. Together, they analyzed the signal, noting its origin and trajectory. The signal seemed to come from the direction of the old human empire, a once mighty force that had long been dormant, now slowly emerging once again. Rumors had spread among the fleet that a new empire was rising, one that promised strength and unity under the banner of humanity. As the team studied the alert, they saw images of a massive battleship emerging from the dark. The vessel was enormous, its hull gleaming in the light of nearby stars, and its engines pulsed with a vibrant electric energy. It was clear that this was no ordinary ship. It was the flagship of the emerging empire, a symbol of human strength and determination. The crew of Nova Haven felt both pride and trepidation. Pride in the resurgence of human power, and fear at the thought of the unknown challenges that lay ahead. While the battleship continued its approach, Captain Reed reflected on the history of the human empire. Many years ago, humankind had built great fleets and forged vast empires, but time had worn away the old structures, and many believed that the era of human dominance was over. Now, with the awakening of this alert, it seemed that the spirit of the empire was returning. It was a sign that humanity was ready to rise again, to reclaim its place among the stars. The alert was not just a call to battle. It was a beacon of hope. For many people across the galaxy, it symbolized a new beginning. The emerging empire represented the unity and strength of humankind, a promise that together they could overcome any challenge. At Nova Haven, the crew felt that this was a turning point in their history. They knew that the coming days would bring great trials, but also great opportunities for those brave enough to stand with their people. In the command center, the team worked together to send out further communications. They reached out to other outposts and ships in the sector, spreading the word of the alert. Simple and clear messages were transmitted across the network. Human battleship has entered the sector. Prepare for action. These messages carried a sense of urgency, urging all who heard them to be ready for what might come next. Outside, the vast darkness of space seemed to hold its breath. The human battleship moved like a silent giant, its every detail a reminder of a time when humanity ruled the stars. Its engines roared softly as it cut through the cosmic silence, leaving behind a trail of light and hope. The emerging empire was not just a military force. It was a symbol of rebirth. It reminded every human, whether on a distant outpost or on a small space station, that the heart of their people was still strong. As the alert continued to pulse and spread its message, Captain Reed made a decision. He knew that the crew of Nova Haven had a duty to support the emerging empire. They would stand ready, using every resource and every skill to help their people. The simple words of the alert had awakened something deep within him, a fierce pride and a strong sense of purpose. It was a call to defend, to rebuild, and to move forward together as one united force. The awakening of the Alert marked the beginning of a new chapter in human history. With the emerging empire now visible in the vast expanse of space, every star and every planet seemed to whisper promises of a future filled with strength, unity, and hope. The battle that lay ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Humanity was ready to rise again, stronger and more determined than ever before. In that quiet moment, as the Alert pulsed on, and the battleship continued its journey, Nova Haven and all of humanity took their first step into a future that promised both great challenges and even greater victories. The arrival of the battleship. In the cold depths of space, the anticipation grew as the human battleship moved steadily closer. The vessel, a magnificent symbol of renewed human power, emerged from the darkness like a beacon of hope and strength. It was enormous, its sleek lines and glowing engines catching the light of distant stars. Every crew member at Nova Haven watched in awe as the battleship's silhouette filled their monitors, its presence a clear sign of the emerging empire. Captain Marcus Reed stood at the command console, his eyes fixed on the approaching ship. Beside him, Lieutenant Sarah Kahn and Sergeant David Lee shared his mixture of excitement and caution. They had seen many ships in their career, but none carried the same gravitas as this one. The battleship was not just a military asset. It was a statement. It said that humanity was ready to claim its place among the stars once more. The battleship's arrival was not sudden, but rather a gradual unveiling. From a distance, it looked like a shimmering star itself, a moving dot that slowly expanded until its full form came into view. Its hull was smooth and unblemished, built with advanced materials that seemed to absorb and reflect light simultaneously. The engines, arranged in a symmetrical pattern, pulsed with a steady rhythmic glow, like the heartbeat of a living creature. This steady pulse was both comforting and intimidating, a reminder that the ship was powered by human ingenuity and determination. Inside the ship, the crew worked with precision and purpose. Every officer and soldier understood the significance of their mission. They were not merely fighting a battle. They were part of a larger story, the rebirth of an empire that had once spanned galaxies. The ship's corridors hummed with activity as teams coordinated their tasks, preparing for the next phase of their journey. The air was thick with anticipation, each crew member aware that the arrival of their battleship was just the beginning of a grand plan. As the battleship drew nearer to Nova Haven, its details became clearer. The vessel bore the marks of a bygone era, hints of classic design mixed with modern upgrades. It carried a majestic emblem, a symbol of unity and strength, proudly displayed on its bow. This emblem was a call to all humans, a reminder that in times of crisis, unity and courage could overcome any challenge. The ship was a floating fortress, designed not only for battle, but also for hope, a hope that resonated in every heart aboard. Outside the walls of Nova Haven, the vast emptiness of space seemed to hold its breath. The distant stars appeared to twinkle with renewed vigor, as if cheering on the battleship's advance. There was a strange silence in the cosmic void, a silence that was both eerie and powerful. It was as though the universe itself paused to acknowledge the return of a great force. The human battleship was more than just metal and machinery. It was a vessel carrying dreams and memories of a glorious past. Many generations had passed since humanity last commanded such power, and now the ship's arrival stirred a deep sense of pride. Every beep and flash on the control panels at Nova Haven reminded the crew of their shared heritage. They remembered stories of old tales of heroic explorers and fearless warriors who had once made the impossible possible. Today, they were witnessing history in the making. As the battleship came into full view, its engines roared softly, a deep and resonant sound that filled the silence of space. This roar was not one of destruction, but of determination, a sound that echoed the heartbeat of a nation rising from the shadows. The ship's path was straight and unwavering, guided by advanced navigation systems and the steady hand of a seasoned captain who believed in the cause. Its journey was a message to all who might oppose the emerging empire. Humanity was back, and it was stronger than ever. Captain Reed, still watching from the command center, felt a surge of resolve. He knew that the battleship's arrival marked a turning point not only for Nova Haven, but for the entire sector. There was an unspoken promise in the ship's silent approach, a promise of safety, strength, and the rekindling of a lost legacy. It was a call to stand together, to face the challenges ahead with unity and courage. The arrival of the human battleship also brought a sense of calm preparation. Officers at Nova Haven began coordinating with other outposts and friendly ships. They exchanged simple messages filled with hope and determination, reaffirming their readiness to support the emerging empire. Every message sent was a reminder that despite the vast distances between them, they were connected by a common purpose. In the final moments of this part of the saga, the battleship's full might was revealed. It hovered gracefully near Nova Haven, its presence both reassuring and commanding. The crew of Nova Haven felt a mixture of relief and anticipation. Relief that the symbol of human power was among them, and anticipation for the challenges that would soon test that power. The arrival of the battleship was not an end, but a beginning, a new chapter that promised to reshape the destiny of humanity in the vast expanse of space. Thus, with the majestic arrival of the battleship, the stage was set for what would become an epic struggle and an inspiring journey. The emerging empire was no longer a distant dream, but a tangible force ready to ignite the flames of hope and unity among all who believed in a brighter future for humankind. Unseen enemies stir. Far from the bright glow of the battleship, the silent dark of space began to whisper secrets. As the human battleship advanced steadily, strange signals emerged from hidden corners of the sector. In the stillness of the cosmic void, these signals grew into a chorus of mysterious activity. No one on Nova Haven or aboard the battleship had expected to find any life stirring in the cold reaches of space, but here it was, a quiet, unsettling reminder that the universe held many secrets. Deep within an asteroid belt near the sector's edge, small, shadowy figures began to move. They were not the sleek and powerful machines of the human fleet, but instead a collection of alien drones and small fighters designed for speed and stealth. These were the unseen enemies, the ones that had long avoided detection. Their sensors had picked up the awakening of the human empire, and now they stirred from their hiding places. Their movements were careful, precise, and full of an eerie purpose. On the command deck of the battleship, Captain Marcus Reed and his team noticed a series of irregular blips on their radar. Lieutenant Sarah Khan leaned over the controls, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Captain, there is unusual movement in the outer rim of the sector," she reported in a clear, measured voice. Sergeant David Lee joined her, peering at the flickering displays. "It looks like small crafts, many of them, gathering in the shadows," he observed. The alert was subtle, almost hidden beneath the stronger signals of the battleship, but it was there, persistent and growing. The crew exchanged cautious looks, aware that this might be a prelude to an ambush. For years, legends had spread about creatures and machines that lived in the dark, remnants of a forgotten enemy or a new force with designs unknown. The sudden increase in activity filled the room with tension. The crew's training told them that whenever there was a shadow of unknown activity, danger was never far behind. Far away, in a cluster of derelict space stations, the alien forces communicated in a language of beeps and pulses. They did not speak in words as humans do, but their signals carried clear intent. The human battleship and its allied fleet had awakened a sleeping power. With each pulse, the alien enemy was coordinating its forces, preparing for a response. Their technology was different, built to remain hidden until the time was right to strike. The unseen enemies did not immediately launch an attack. Instead, they gathered intelligence, analyzing the battleship's trajectory and strength. They moved with stealth, their small crafts darting silently between asteroids and drifting space debris. Their actions were careful, almost respectful of the powerful force that had entered their domain. This was not a reckless charge. It was a calculated maneuver designed to test the strength of the emerging human empire before committing to full battle. Captain Reed, monitoring the unusual signals, decided to send out a quiet alert to Nova Haven and nearby Allied outposts. Using simple, clear language, he communicated the growing threat. Unidentified enemy activity detected near the sector's rim. All units remain vigilant. The message spread quickly, and soon every part of the human fleet was on high alert. Even though the enemy had not yet revealed itself in full, the warning was enough to set hearts pounding with anticipation and worry. The crew of the battleship worked diligently to enhance their detection systems. They adjusted sensors, recalibrated communications, and searched for any more signs of movement. Lieutenant Khan discovered that the enemy crafts were not random flotsam drifting through space. They moved in patterns, almost as if they were dancing around the edges of the battleship's path. This strange behavior led her to believe that the aliens were not merely curious, but deliberate in their approach. They are not attacking yet, she noted, but they are watching. They are waiting for the right moment. As the unseen enemy continued to stir, the human battleship sailed onward, its course steady and purposeful. The crew began to prepare for any possible encounter. Training drills were run, weapons systems were checked and double-checked, and every member of the crew knew that they must be ready for what might come. The simple order was clear: defend the battleship, and by extension, defend the hope and strength of the human empire. The tension on the battleship grew with each passing moment. There was a shared sense among the crew that this was the calm before a storm. The unseen enemy, hidden in the shadows of space, was gathering strength. Their quiet movements, their careful signals, and the mysterious patterns of their approach all signaled that something significant was about to happen. It was as if the enemy was testing the resolve of the humans, trying to find the right moment to reveal their full force. In that vast, dark sector of space, where silence had once reigned, a low hum of activity now echoed. The stirring of these unseen enemies was a clear sign. The battle for the future of the human empire was not just a matter of strength, but also of strategy and courage. The crew of the battleship and the people of Nova Haven braced themselves for the unknown, knowing that this new challenge could either be the beginning of a great victory or the spark of a dangerous conflict. As the alien forces moved in the shadows, the human battleship continued its journey, resolute and determined. The stage was now set for a confrontation that promised to test the very limits of human strength and spirit. The unseen enemies had awakened, and the battle for control of the sector was quietly, yet inexorably, drawing near. The first clash. The calm before the storm was over. As the human battleship sailed steadily through the dark sector, a sudden burst of activity shattered the silence. Out of the shadows, a small but fierce enemy force emerged to challenge the might of the human vessel. The clash began unexpectedly, as if the unseen enemies had finally decided to test the strength of the emerging empire. On the battleship's command deck, alarms rang out, and the steady hum of the engines was suddenly overpowered by urgent beeps and flashing screens. Captain Marcus Reed's eyes narrowed as he saw multiple enemy blips appear on the radar. Lieutenant Sarah Khan quickly relayed the information, her voice calm but firm. "We are detecting enemy crafts closing in fast. Weapons systems, prepare for engagement." Sergeant David Lee checked his gear and took his position, ready to face the unknown threat. Outside, the enemy crafts, small, agile, and cloaked in dark, reflective surfaces, darted through the void like swift predators. They moved in unpredictable patterns, weaving in and out of space debris and asteroids. Their silent approach soon turned into an aggressive surge. Suddenly, a volley of laser fire streaked across the dark expanse, aimed directly at the battleship. The human battleship responded with practiced precision. Its powerful turrets whirred to life, sending streams of laser beams toward the incoming attackers. The clash of energy and metal filled the air with an intense, rhythmic roar. The screens on the command deck displayed bursts of light as enemy crafts took damage, but they did not immediately retreat. Instead, they pushed forward with relentless determination. Captain Reed watched the unfolding battle with a mix of concern and resolve. The enemy was small in number compared to the battleship, yet their coordinated attack was worrisome. They seemed to work as one, every move calculated to test the human ship's defenses. As the laser beams crisscrossed space, sparks and flashes lit up the darkness. The enemy ships, agile and persistent, made daring maneuvers, flanking the battleship and attacking from unexpected angles. Inside the battleship, the crew worked like a well-oiled machine. Lieutenant Khan monitored the enemy's movements, calling out changes in their patterns and warning of possible ambushes. Sergeant Lee led a team to secure key areas of the ship, ensuring that no sudden breach could disrupt the vessel's systems. The tension was high, but every crew member focused on their duty, knowing that their actions could mean the difference between victory and defeat. The first clash reached a critical point when an enemy ship managed to slip past the outer defenses and launched a direct attack on one of the battleship's energy conduits. The impact caused a momentary power surge that flickered across the ship's internal lights. The damage was minor, yet it sent a clear message. The enemy was capable of penetrating even the most robust defenses. Quick to respond, Captain Reed ordered a full power redistribution to the affected section, ensuring that the battleship's shields were reinforced. "Keep steady and return fire," he commanded in a voice that carried both authority and encouragement. The crew obeyed without hesitation, their unity and training evident in every action. As the battle raged on, it became clear that this was not a random skirmish. The enemy ships were testing the battleship's limits, learning its weaknesses and strengths with each burst of fire exchange. Their tactics were not merely to destroy but to provoke and study. Despite their relentless attack, there was an undercurrent of strategy in their movements. A silent dialogue between two forces that had met after a long period of separation. The human battleship, with its impressive firepower and sturdy design, gradually began to turn the tide. One by one, enemy crafts that dared to get too close were hit by precise laser shots. The flickering images on the command deck showed enemy ships retreating, their formations breaking apart as they withdrew back into the dark recesses of space. Yet, even in retreat, they left behind a trail of questions. Who were these enemies, and what were their true motives? Were they remnants of an old rivalry, or a new power testing the waters of a changing galaxy? In the heat of the clash, every crew member felt the weight of history and the promise of the future. The battle was not just a fight for survival. It was a statement that humanity was ready to face any challenge. The brief but intense confrontation served as a proving ground, a chance for the emerging empire to demonstrate its strength, resilience, and unity. As the last of the enemy ships disappeared into the darkness, a heavy silence fell over the battleship. The echoes of the laser blasts still vibrated through the hull, and the crew took a moment to catch their breath. Captain Reed looked out at the vastness of space, feeling both relief and lingering concern. The first clash had been won, but it was only the beginning of a much larger struggle. The lessons learned from this encounter would guide the crew in the battles to come. They now understood that the enemy was both cunning and persistent. The initial attack, though repelled, had revealed vulnerabilities that needed to be addressed. Plans were already underway to reinforce defenses and to update tactics based on the new intelligence gathered during the clash. In the aftermath of the first battle, a sense of cautious optimism spread among the crew. They had faced the enemy head-on and emerged victorious, at least for now. The human battleship had proved that it was a formidable force, a beacon of the emerging empire's might and the enduring spirit of humanity. As the battleship continued its journey through the sector, every crew member knew that more challenges lay ahead. But with each battle, they grew stronger, more united, and ever more determined to secure a future for their people in the vast, mysterious expanse of space. The hidden motive. After the fierce clash with the unseen enemy, a calm yet tense atmosphere settled over the human battleship. In the quiet aftermath, Captain Marcus Reed and his team gathered in the command center, their faces etched with both relief and lingering concern. The enemy had retreated, but the questions they left behind were many. It was now time to find out why the enemy had attacked. There was a hidden motive behind their actions, and the crew was determined to uncover it. Captain Reed stood before the large display screen, reviewing the battle data that Lieutenant Sarah Khan had collected. The charts and graphs showed unusual energy readings and patterns in the enemy's attack. These readings do not match any standard attack pattern, Reed noted softly. They are precise, almost as if planned. His voice was steady, but his eyes revealed a deep curiosity. The captain knew that understanding the enemy's motive could be the key to ensuring the safety of the battleship and the future of the emerging empire. Lieutenant Khan joined him, her fingers tracing the lines on the screen. "Captain, look here," she said, pointing to a series of energy spikes that occurred just before the enemy initiated their attack. "This is not random. It is like they are sending a signal or a code." Sergeant David Lee, who had been quietly reviewing the tactical logs, added, "I have seen similar patterns in our old records. They match with a long-forgotten conflict from decades ago." The simple observation sparked a series of memories among the crew, a time when old rivalries and hidden grudges had nearly torn the human fleet apart. The battleship's crew began to piece together clues from the battle. They discovered that the enemy had used advanced technology, one that was not common in the current arsenal of the human empire. The style of the attack, the movements of the enemy crafts, and the precise timing all hinted at a past conflict that had been buried in the annals of history. Captain Reed ordered a full review of the archives stored on the battleship. The old records, though dusty with time, held secrets of previous battles and ancient rivalries. As the review progressed, the crew found hints of a lost faction that had once opposed the human empire. This group, long thought to be extinct, had developed its own unique style of warfare. Their weapons and tactics were different, more calculated, and often driven by a deep-seated grudge. The clues suggested that the enemy might be remnants of this forgotten faction. Their goal could be to reclaim what they believed was rightfully theirs, or to challenge the new order that the emerging empire represented. Captain Reed called an urgent meeting in the strategy room. The room was filled with officers and analysts who all looked to him for direction. He explained, "We have uncovered clues that point to an old enemy, a faction that our records show had a major conflict with our ancestors. They may have been lying in wait, gathering strength, and now they see our resurgence as a threat." The room fell silent as the weight of his words sank in. Everyone understood that this hidden motive could change the course of their battle and the future of humanity. The discussion turned to strategy. How should they prepare for an enemy driven by old grudges and hidden motives? Lieutenant Khan suggested, "We must use our history to our advantage. Let us study the old battles and understand their strategies. If we know their past moves, we might predict their next steps." Sergeant Lee agreed and added, "Our training and our technology have advanced, but we should never underestimate an enemy that is fueled by deep emotion and a desire for revenge." The simple, honest words of the crew strengthened their resolve. They began to prepare not just for a physical battle, but for a war of ideas and legacy. In the following hours, the battleship became a hive of quiet activity. Teams were assigned to study the ancient records and to analyze the enemy's tactics. Officers worked on decoding the mysterious energy spikes that had signaled the start of the enemy attack. Every discovery, no matter how small, added a piece to the puzzle of the enemy's hidden motive. Captain Reed spent long hours in the command center, piecing together the evidence. He recalled the old legends of a faction that had once challenged the human empire, a force that believed the old ways were lost in the march of progress. This enemy was not merely seeking to destroy. They were trying to reclaim a forgotten identity. The emerging empire, with all its modern strength and new technologies, had inadvertently revived an old wound. Now the enemy was ready to remind humanity of its past and force it to confront long-buried issues. By the end of the day, The crew had gathered enough evidence to form a clearer picture of the enemy's motive. The enemy was not simply a force of chaos. They were driven by a desire to reclaim lost honor and to challenge the rise of a new human power. Their tactics were a blend of old and new, using ancient strategies alongside modern technology. This blend made them unpredictable and dangerous. Captain Reed looked out at the vast expanse of space from the battleship's observation deck. The stars twinkled silently, unaware of the brewing conflict. In that quiet moment, he felt the burden of leadership but also the strength of a united crew ready to face an enemy from the past. The hidden motive had been uncovered, a clash of old ideals against the dawn of a new era. And as the emerging empire prepared for the challenges ahead, every member of the crew knew that their fight was not just for survival, but for the very soul of humanity. The mystery of the enemy's motive had been partially solved, but many questions remained. What would the enemy do next? How deep did their grudge run? For now, the human battleship sailed on, ready to protect its people and honor the legacy of a past that was very much alive in the hearts of its foes. The ultimate confrontation. The calm before the final storm was over. With clues of an old enemy now clear, the human battleship pressed forward into the heart of the sector. The ship sailed through a field of scattered asteroids and swirling cosmic dust, and every sensor on board pulsed with data. The crew knew that the enemy would not delay much longer. The time for the ultimate confrontation had arrived. Captain Marcus Reed stood at the command console, his eyes focused on the ever-changing radar screens. "All units, prepare for full engagement," he ordered in a firm, clear voice. The crew moved with practiced precision, ready to face a foe that was both familiar and mysterious. They had studied the enemy's hidden motive, and now they braced themselves to meet the challenge head-on. The enemy forces, having gathered strength and intelligence, appeared suddenly. From the dark void emerged a vast armada of alien fighters and drones, led by a flagship that shone with an eerie glow. The enemy vessels were sleek and fast, moving with a coordinated precision that showed a deep understanding of both old tactics and new technology. Their presence in the sector was like a storm cloud, dark and threatening, ready to burst upon the human battleship. In the midst of the chaos, the human battleship loomed large, a symbol of strength and hope. Its massive hull was bristling with energy weapons and shields, each system honed by years of practice and sacrifice. As the enemy flagship drew closer, the battleship's crew activated every available defense system. Lieutenant Sarah Khan and Sergeant David Lee coordinated with all units, ensuring that every turret and sensor was in perfect working order. The first wave of enemy fighters swooped in, their small bodies darting like sparks across the darkness. With a steady hand, the battleship's automated systems fired a barrage of laser beams. The streaks of light met the enemy head-on, and a brilliant flash filled the void as alien ships broke apart. But the enemy was not easily defeated. More fighters appeared, emerging from hidden pockets in the cosmic dust, and the space around the battleship turned into a battleground of light and shadow. Amid the intense fighting, Captain Reed issued new orders. "Focus all fire on the enemy flagship. We must break their command chain." The crew responded with unwavering determination. Turrets locked onto the massive enemy vessel, and powerful blasts of energy streaked across the dark sea of space. The enemy flagship, with its glowing core and sharp edges, shuddered under the relentless assault. Yet, it returned fire with precision, launching guided missiles that cut through the space between the two great ships. Inside the enemy flagship, a lone commander watched the battle unfold. His eyes were cold and determined, his face set in a mask of ancient resolve. He had led his forces through many conflicts, and now, in this moment of ultimate confrontation, he would show that the old grudges were not yet buried. His ship unleashed a salvo of energy bolts that slammed into the human battleship's shields, creating ripples of light and sound that shook the entire vessel. The human crew fought back with equal intensity. Sergeant Lee led a special team to secure the critical sections of the battleship, while Lieutenant Khan recalibrated the shields to absorb the incoming energy. Each member of the crew worked in unison, like parts of a well-tuned machine. The battle had become a test of both strength and spirit, a test to see if the human empire could rise above its past and secure its future. For long, tense moments, the two great ships exchanged blows. The enemy flagship danced around the battleship, testing its defenses and probing for weaknesses. At one point, a powerful missile grazed the hull, leaving a trail of sparks in its wake. Captain Reed's eyes narrowed as he watched the damage, knowing that every mark was a challenge to be met with resolve and unity. Then, in a decisive moment, the battleship's weapons found their mark. A concentrated beam of energy, guided by the combined efforts of the entire crew, struck the enemy flagship's core. The impact was tremendous, a burst of light and sound that sent shockwaves through the region. The enemy vessel shuddered and began to break apart, its structure crumbling as its power failed. The coordinated enemy fighters, now leaderless, scattered into the darkness, their organized assault falling into disarray. As silence began to return to the sector, a deep sense of relief mixed with the heavy cost of the battle. The human battleship had taken a major blow, but its spirit remained unbroken. Captain Reed and his team took a moment to assess the damage and honor those who had risked everything in the fight. The victory was hard-earned, and each member of the crew understood that this confrontation was just one step in a much longer journey. In the aftermath of the ultimate confrontation, the battleship held steady in the silent void. The enemy had been pushed back, but their presence and hidden motives would not be forgotten. The emerging empire had shown its strength and its resolve, proving that humanity could face the ghosts of its past and the challenges of its future. With the enemy flagship vanquished and the alien fighters retreating into the dark recesses of space, the human battleship sailed on. The ultimate confrontation had marked a turning point, a bold statement that the spirit of humankind would not yield. And as the ship continued its journey through the vastness of space, every crew member carried with them the lessons of battle, the pride of victory, and the promise of a new dawn for the human empire. Aftermath and the uncertain future. In the quiet wake of the battle, the human battleship drifted through space like a wounded but proud warrior. The fierce sounds of the ultimate confrontation had faded, replaced by a calm that was both peaceful and filled with heavy thoughts. Inside the ship, the crew gathered to assess the damage, remember those they had lost, and prepare for what was to come. Captain Marcus Reed stood on the observation deck, staring out at the endless stars. The scars of battle were visible on the ship's hull, a reminder of the hard fight they had just endured. Yet in the deep silence of space, there was also a sense of hope. The enemy had been pushed back, and the emerging empire had proven its strength. Still, the question lingered: what would happen next? In the command center, Lieutenant Sarah Khan and Sergeant David Lee led a careful review of all the data collected during the battle. The damage was not severe enough to cripple the battleship, but it was a clear sign that the enemy had the power to strike when they wished. "We need to be ready for another attack," Sarah said in her calm, measured tone. Her eyes moved over the charts and reports, searching for any clues that might explain the enemy's next move. The crew began repairs, their hands steady despite the weight of their recent experience. They worked together like a close family, knowing that every part of the ship was important. The repair teams checked the shields, recalibrated the weapons, and made sure that every system was running smoothly. In every conversation and every careful step, there was a quiet determination to rebuild and be ready for the future. As night fell over the distant planets, the battleship sent messages back to Nova Haven and other friendly outposts. The reports were simple and clear. The enemy had been repelled, but their motives remained a mystery. "Our victory today is only a start," Captain Reed's message read. "We have faced an old enemy, and the battle has shown us that we must be ever watchful. The future remains uncertain, and our work is far from done." These words echoed through the communication channels, uniting all those who believed in the strength of the human empire. Across the ship, in quiet moments, crew members thought about the cost of the battle. Some remembered lost friends, while others recalled the sacrifices they had made to protect their people. Their grief was mixed with relief and hope, a reminder that every victory came with a price, but that price was paid in the name of a greater future. In every whispered conversation, and in the silent look shared between comrades, there was a promise to honor those lost by fighting for a better tomorrow. Outside, the sector of space remained full of mysteries. The enemy had retreated for now, but their hidden motives and ancient grudges had not been fully explained. New signals appeared on the radar, a mix of old patterns and fresh codes that hinted at deeper, darker forces still at work. These signals were like faint footsteps in a long corridor, a reminder that the calm was temporary and that danger might be lurking just beyond the next star. Captain Reed gathered his senior officers for a final briefing. Standing before a large screen that showed the vast region of space, he spoke in a strong but simple voice. "Today, we fought and won a great battle, but we must remember that this is only the beginning. Our enemy may have lost ground, but their spirit remains. We must continue to learn from them and to protect our people with all the strength we have." His words were met with nods of agreement and a renewed sense of purpose. As the meeting ended, a soft alert sounded, a new message from deep within the sector. It was faint but clear, and it carried a warning. The message spoke of more enemy forces gathering in a distant part of the galaxy. There was no clear indication of what they planned to do next, only that the human battleship and its crew should remain on high alert. The news spread quickly through the corridors, a chilling reminder that the fight was far from over. In the days that followed, the battleship continued its journey with a careful balance of repair and reconnaissance. The crew maintained their watchful eyes on the sensors, ready to detect even the smallest sign of movement. They shared stories of the battle and of old legends that spoke of a time when humanity had faced great challenges and emerged stronger. These stories, passed down like cherished memories, reminded everyone on board that hope was a light in the dark. Yet, amid the calm and the repair, there was a growing sense of uncertainty. The enemy's hidden motive still puzzled them, and the new signals hinted at a deeper conflict waiting to emerge. The future was unclear, and the battles ahead might be even more dangerous than the one they had just fought. But in that uncertainty, there was also a promise that the human spirit was strong, that every setback was a chance to learn and to grow. With the emerging empire standing firm and its people united, the battleship sailed on into the darkness. Its lights shone like beacons of hope, and its crew, scared but unbowed, prepared to meet the challenges of tomorrow. The aftermath of the clash had set the stage for a new chapter in human history, a chapter filled with both great victories and daunting mysteries, where every star held the promise of a new beginning and every shadow a secret yet to be revealed.